Captain, you're back sooner than... wait. Did you actually succeed? With Radcliffe? And Balmore? We're all in agreement. So the old man was still lurking around in there. Fine work, Captain. And now, I've already arranged everything with the archival monitors. When you get down there, the UC monitor will give you instructions on how to deploy the codes. Follow them to the letter. Here, the UC code piece and an archival access card. The entrance is just on the other side of the plaza across from Mast. Absolute best behavior down there, all right?
Back in the lab. Quiet, safe, secure. Just how I like it. It's home. It doesn't matter how long I've been away, that will never change. Now, this lab will take some getting used to. Sometimes I go looking for the bathroom and end up in the storage closet. The short answer is xenobiology, but I get that that's a pretty broad category. My specialty is alien flora, but as a lead, I managed pretty much every department on the station. Maybe now that I'm here, I'll go back to my roots, so to speak. Yeah, it's nice being in a lab again, and the facilities here at MAST are the best in the galaxy. The only thing I don't have is my research slate. The thought of having to start over from scratch, well, I feel like Sisyphus pushing his boulder up the hill. Xenobiological stuff on the flora we grew in the facility. We made regular jumps to Mast, so thankfully I don't need all of it, just my most recent notes. Have you ever lost a document because you forgot to save? It takes twice the mental energy to rewrite it. You remember the basic idea, but there's no inspiration behind it. You're trying to pick up a memory that you told yourself was safe to forget. Oh, great. I'll give you the coordinates to the station. It orbits Voss in the Alpha Centauri system, so it won't be too far of a jump. Just be careful. I don't know if those zealots are still there. If they are, definitely do not engage.
Captain, Admiral Logan informed me of your part in halting the attacks. Whole damn city owes you. Now, what do you need?
You can just call them SysDef. Everyone else does. They're the division responsible for combating the Crimson Fleet, fighting pirates. It's not a small job, keeping the galaxy's mercantile class safe from death and dismemberment, so they're constantly undermanned. They work out of the ship, the UC Vigilance, though the support request was a little vague on what your actual duties would be if you decided you want to lend a hand.
Crime has slowed down since you started helping out, which is good for morale. The whole department is in the process of recovering, myself included. If I'm being honest, I still have nightmares of my team turning on one another. Things can be replaced and wounds can be healed, but building back that trust in each other is going to take time. Luckily, we've built a good culture here, and we hired some new recruits who were inspired by what you did. I've got faith we'll survive this. I do. Thanks to you, the spaceport is up and running again, which is good for commerce, but also for smugglers. We've received a tip that someone has been bringing in contraband into New Atlantis through the spaceport, and we need to investigate. Well, technology-wise, criminals have always been one step ahead. No different now than it was centuries ago. Smugglers often have a fancy shielding or scan jammers that allow them to evade the checks. But luckily, we can still use old-fashioned detective work to track these criminals down. Great. First, speak to one of the technicians over by Landing Pad B. Ask them if they've noticed any suspicious activity. Once you've gotten a lead, cross-reference their testimony with ship records over at Aegis. When you're done, report back to me with your findings. Remember that job you did for Agent Plato? I finally had a reason to call in that favor he owes us. I asked him to pull the names and cargo of every potential smuggling ship that docked in the last month. He said he'll have a slate ready for you to examine. There should be a few working on the landing pads. If they don't know anything, move on to another. Right now, we don't have any good leads. But if anyone's seen anything, it will give us something to go on.
You came. How are you doing? You eating well out there? It's easy just to survive off, well, garbage when you're shipbound all the time. Well, I do what I can. You remember Grandpa's restaurant? Last time you were there, you must have been 5, 8? Some of the best food in the galaxy. Service with a grunt and a glare, I always said. But Dad's food kept them coming back. He always said, smiling wastes energy. Your grandfather taught me what I know of cooking. He didn't want me to go to uni. I was the only one interested in the restaurant. But when he got on in the years, he trusted me with something sacred. His meatloaf recipe. That meatloaf recipe funded 2 houses, my college tuition, and a heap of weddings. He won the all-colony cook-off 3 years in a row. Never been done then or since. He guarded that recipe like his life depended on it. The security system in his office was worth more than the whole apartment combined. No, I'm not. Something better. I don't know if anything I taught you about cooking stuck, but I figure it's time to pass the torch. But you gotta promise not to share Grandpa's meatloaf recipe with anyone. It stays in the family. I swear Dad's ghost would come back and strike me dead if you did that. See that you do. Any meat will do. If it's dry, extra tomatoes. They'll moisten it up if you do it right. Sorry, a bit of a moment here. So, you want to talk about anything?
Time for us to start getting some real answers. And figure out if we've been asking the right questions. So whenever you're ready. You're carrying the most comprehensive collection of information on terramorphs in the known universe. If we can't pry an answer out of there, it likely doesn't exist. Certainly doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but we're not going to know until Percival and I dig in, so whenever you're ready. Yes. It will be. Percival and I have done our damage. This is us starting to put some things right. So with the data out of the way, we've been discussing where exactly this work's getting done. The Red Devil's headquarters on Mars, back where you found Percival, seemed the natural spot. Already has the equipment, the safety measures. Though it sounded like the deputy had a few more things she needed to discuss with you first.
Indeed. The most important of which is getting you your citizenship.
Then I guess we'll see you on Mars.
All right, Captain. Are you ready to become a citizen of the United Colonies? Good. This isn't the only item we need to discuss, so I'll give you the short version. Please raise your hand. Captain, through your actions today and in days past, you have earned your place among the United Colonies. Through service, bravery, strength, and upholding of the mutual good. Will you carry and cultivate these values for as long as you remain a citizen? Then, Captain, I'm pleased to welcome you into the United Colonies as a full citizen. Here, your official ID and your citizenship dispensation. We've also let the Aphelion Realty office out in the plaza know you're approved to purchase property. Now, the other item we needed to discuss. There's a member of the UC who's asked to speak to you, but this person is in a sensitive position. Normally, we wouldn't even consider something like this, but we think this person has information that could prove useful in dealing with the terramorphs. And they've stated they'll only share it with you. They asked for you by name. So I need your agreement that everything you're about to see is kept in the strictest confidence. You can tell no one. Can you agree to these terms? I'm sorry. I can't share any more without your word. Do I have it? Let's hope it never comes to that. Head to the elevator. You're going to subsection 7. I'll make sure you're cleared for access by the time you get there.
President Abeyo was kind enough to give me a few files to peruse. Quite the series of accomplishments you've managed. But now you face a foe unlike any other. An invisible enemy, lurking in the shadows. You're going to need all the help you can get, which is why I hoped we could speak. Do you know who I am? Perceptive. I like that. I'm Francois Sanon, but most know me as Vivictus. I was an admiral during the Colony War. One of its great villains, if you believe the slates. I was to be executed for my crimes, but the previous regime deemed me too valuable to simply discard. So they put me here, a sacrifice on the altar of peace. Even my death served the colonies. One final act of rebellion by the leadership that lost the Colony War. The trial was authentic. I faced tribunal with dignity, but my execution, staged. A lethal injection that was anything but. The cabinet at the time, long gone now, wished to keep me on as an advisor, and considering the other option, I was in no place to refuse. So I elected to trade my freedom for my continued existence. But such is the life of a soldier. To warrant my execution, the official charges I faced after the war were twofold. The first was the destruction of civilian ships during the Battle of Cheyenne, a battle during which those civilian ships were actively attacking my fleet. The other was ordering the bombing of the Londinian spaceport to halt the spread of the Terramorph outbreak there. The city and its citizens were lost, but countless others likely saved. And for doing what was right, I was put on trial, and my life irrevocably changed. Very astute. That's my daughter, my progeny. You've been working alongside. Has she shared with you the nature of our little family? Did she? So willing to trust Hadrian. I never did succeed in driving that out of her. Our relationship has always been a challenging one. The Major was born to become a great leader, carry on the legacy I established, and was given all the finest training to support it. And she excelled. But the universe cut all that short. Now, though, it's placed even more crucial work in front of the two of you. And I think I have a part to play in helping you accomplish what you've set out to do. It was an attempt by the United Colonies to solidify its own legacy, forging a new generation of great leaders. They were raised by adoptive families made up of scholars and tacticians, trained at the United Colonies' greatest scientific and military academies, displayed incredible promise. But by the time the Colony War came to a close, there was only Hadrian. But that's ancient history now. You have much more pressing matters at hand, with which I can help. After some long years earning the trust of this current regime, the UC has been permitting me to work alongside one of their recovery teams, helping them gather intelligence on, locate, and organize scenarios to lure in some of the criminals that evaded justice after the Colony War. With quite a few successes, I might add. But in the process, I managed to find something else. The names and locations of Hadrian and Percival's old research team. Valuable manpower for the effort you're about to embark on. I'll tell you where they are, but in exchange, I need something dealt with. Well, who better to find them? But many of them I knew personally, and I've always had a mind for details. Where someone was born, next of kin. You'd be shocked how often an otherwise brilliant criminal flees to the planet just next to the one where they were born, or where a family member resides. I simply use my own personal knowledge and the information our group collects for me to track them down and set things right. There is a former colleague of mine, a man by the name of Dr. Reginald Orlaise. Like myself and Hadrian, he was involved in some of the United Colony's more problematic lines of research. Mech weapons were his specialty. If it dealt death, he could make a deal more. When the Colony War ended, he fled, refusing to face tribunal, and has continued to peddle his skills to the highest bidder to this day. But I finally found him. I want you to track him down and deal with him, however you're able. I'm not expecting he'll come quietly. Bring me evidence that the job's done, and I'll tell you what I know. Captain, your files indicate a track record of unlikely successes. It is my genuine hope that, perhaps down the line, you might become a part of our team. And this might be something of a tryout. Speak to Deputy McIntyre. I'm sure she'd be happy to hear that someone might be tying up this loose end at long last. Though I would ask you, do not make the mistake of confusing me for a simple cutthroat. You can certainly try, but the man's been out there 20 years. He's likely gone feral by now. Easier for all if you simply blow up his ship and be done with it. If that's what you require to sleep at night, so be it. According to my information, he's been hiding around the world of Etheria, Wolf System. There is a star station in the vicinity, the Den. The head of the local vanguard, one Captain Marquez, should be able to help you find our man.
Captain, did your meeting go well? I hope it's clear now why we needed you to agree to all the secrecy. Captain, please, keep your voice down. The situation with the prisoner is a complex one. A holdover from a different era. But it's a situation we've been managing as discreetly and humanely as we can for some time now. And the most critical part of that management is making sure no one else learns of it. Do I make myself clear? The Major doesn't have clearance for this sort of information, and she certainly doesn't need a distraction from her current, very important work. Which is why I need you to keep this to yourself. Good. Because bringing this up to the outside world would create the unfair appearance, Captain, that you're unhinged. And that's not a good look for any of us. Now, was there something in particular you needed to discuss about what we were just discussing? Dr. Reginald Orlaise? He's finally found him. Of course, killing Orlaise is completely out of the question, but bringing him to justice... He's been on the lam for years. That'd be a huge win for the UC. What's being offered in return? Really? He found the members of the research team. We'd already initiated a search for them, but it'd save a lot of time and manpower if he just gave us that information. Captain, if that's the deal, you have my endorsement. Just so long as you make every effort to bring the man in alive. Now, was there anything else you wanted to discuss regarding your meeting? Trusting the man downstairs would be a mistake, but I don't think you need to be too concerned. This is far from the first name he's handed over, and all previous missions went off largely without a hitch. So while I'd certainly warrant caution, I think you can proceed. The Den? It's a star station, orbiting Wolf, the second star station actually to bear that title. The first one was blown to smithereens by House Varun during the Serpent's Crusade. The place has always acted as a remote strategic hub, primarily for repairing and refueling UC military vessels. But because of its distance from the rest of the UC, things there have always been a little more lax. Patrols included. I can think of worse places in the galaxy for a criminal to hide out. Then I'll bid you good day, Captain, and remind you of the importance of discretion.
Yeah? Can't say I have. When you work a job like this, you see so many ships. They all sort of blend together. Look, I'm just a port worker. My whole life would fit into one of these boxes. I've got nothing to hide. Now, if you don't mind, I got work to do. And if you do mind, tough.
Can I help you? It's about time. I've been telling my supervisor about that cargo ship for ages. Beginning to think he was ignoring me. It's the way the crew handled the cargo. They were being way too delicate. The manifest said they were carrying potatoes, spuds. I don't know what was in those crates, but it certainly wasn't that. That's the problem. I don't really look at the ship names when I work, just the ID number granted for clearance. I think it was UC576B. I do know it's a cargo class transport, if that helps.
The fewer people there are thinking about Aegis on a daily basis, the easier my job is.
That I do, Captain. Sergeant Yumi said you'd be coming to pick it up. You've got good timing, too. I actually have a friend on a classified star station who sent me this list of potential smugglers the other day. Here you are. Given I owe you for the last job, I hope it serves some use. That's right. Classified station, top secret projects, etc., etc. Nothing you need to be concerned with at the moment, Captain. Yep. Every ship on that list has a route that goes through New Atlantis. Not surprising, given we're the biggest port in town. And if they're smuggling stuff there, you can bet your ass they're smuggling stuff here.
Found those smugglers yet? Is that right? Do you know the name by any chance? Captain Sakaniwa's ship. Strange man, but I wouldn't peg him for a smuggler. Are you sure about this? All right. If not that ship, which one? Captain Kimball's ship. Isn't he a weapons dealer? His ship gets examined with extreme scrutiny. I sincerely doubt he's smuggling anything, let alone contraband, but I'll defer to you. Are you sure you have the right ship? All right. If not that ship, which one? Ah, that's Captain Dayu's ship. Are you sure about that? I thought she dealt mostly in exports. All right. If not that ship, which one? Captain Enjai's ship. I think you might have hit the mark here. You had reports of their crew being less than professional on several occasions. Still, being a little rough around the edges isn't exactly a crime. Are you sure it's the right ship? Then the next step is searching their cargo for any smuggled contraband. And, as luck would have it, I believe the Anansi has already arrived at landing pad B. I'll make the call to have the ship detained until further notice. Your job is to board the ship, locate any illicit goods, and return them here. And if any of the crew puts up a fight, I trust you know what to do.
Well, it looks like you got me, officer. I guess this means my potato shipping days are numbered. But maybe you'd be willing to give a first-time offender a slap on the carpal bone. I don't suppose you're interested in a deal? Fine. You've made your choice. But now, you'll have to pay for it.
How's the investigation going? No major hiccups, I hope? Holding your breath won't work. Good work. Did you find anything? Very well done, Captain. Time and time again you come through for us. Initially, I felt bad for helping someone of your rank doing security, but frankly, you're worth the guilt. In any case, I'll have a team move the ship off the landing pad and do a full sweep. Make sure there's no other surprises on board. Oh, and before I forget, your payment. It's well deserved.
Hey, it's you again. You too. These are my parents. I told everyone they just got on a different shuttle, but nobody would listen. We're just exploring New Atlantis. We have a new apartment. This place is amazing. Anyway, it was nice to see you again. Maybe I'll see you around. And don't forget my birthday. It's June 11th.
Well, you're back. Don't you lin me. I thought things had already gone sideways, but no, that was just the beginning. More pirates showed up when you were gone. We weren't as lucky this time. Calvert, Troy, some of the new Dusties, they didn't make it. Who knows with pirates? Revenge, peeking at the scraps. Maybe they're from a different crew and we just got hit twice by sheer bad luck. Well, how could you have? You weren't here. Anyway, I was pinned down behind some crates with Barrett. Bullets and laser fire everywhere. No smile on that damn carefree face of his. Like he knew this was it. I started steeling myself to go out fighting. Then that idiot puts his hand on my shoulder and says, "Stay here, Lynn. I got you."
Barrett's fine. You might think he's just a wise ass, but he's got skills.
Next thing I know, 2 of the pirates are dead, and he's got the 3rd one in a headlock. Drags him out into the open at gunpoint and demands to talk, or else I'm going to demonstrate Newton's 3rd law on this guy's temporal lobe. And that's when they brought out Hela. I didn't overhear everything, but after the 10 longest seconds of my life, Barrett put his hands up, and both of them ended up getting taken aboard the pirate ship. And that's the last I saw of either of them. Too risky to put that in the message. Too much liability. You know how it is. Our clients need to know when the operations start and stop. We handle the rest. They could have grav-jumped anywhere. I tried pinging a transmission to the ship in the comms building before they left, but the pirates must have fried it. You want to try it? Go ahead. But the odds of them being alive, even if you could find them... I've lost a lot of people on this run, Dusty. I just want to pack up.
Can't believe we got into this mess. Would you be quiet? Trying to make out the grav jump calculations before we're out of range. Out of range of what? Out of range of the sensor array on Vectera. Would you keep up? Once we're outside the star system, the bandwidth goes from instant speed to effectively never. What good is sending a transmission down there? You gonna tell Lynn how royally screwed we both are? She doesn't even have a ship. You underestimate how many of my admirers there are in the galaxy, Heller. One of them is bound to show up, looking to reunite with this handsome face. We're doomed. Capital D doomed. Got it, okay. Whoever finds this, I'm attaching the interstellar coordinates to the metadata on the transmission. Rescue us. Repeat. Rescue us.
So, you actually get that computer working again? What? Let me see that. Funny. Even knowing he's alive, I still never want to see him again. Hella, on the other hand. Okay. Let me send you the location data embedded in the transmission. Find them, okay? What? Really? Not really cut out for whatever it is people like you and Barrett do. But it might not be a bad time to think about a career change after all this. If you have room in your crew for an outpost supervisor, maybe we can talk. Be a while before Argos comes to pick me up. I'll be here if you need me. And hey, if you ever need a little extra help, I've been thinking about a career change lately. Maybe it's time to put Argos behind me. After this mess? Certainly. It's just a job. Nothing to get sentimental about. Sure. I don't mind taking orders from a former employee. It can't be worse than working for Barrett. If you give me an outpost to run, I'll have it optimized for rapid material production in no time. I can make myself useful in other ways, too. I'm a good hand with explosives, and you'll never hear me complain about carrying a heavy pack. Works for me. I'm not fussy about assignments. I'll go where I'm needed.
Oh, hey, it's you. And here I thought you were some pirate coming back to kill me. Lucky me, right? Nah, I'll be alright. Just, wasn't trying to move around too much with all the painkillers and nausea meds running through me. Man, I was so terrified when I got pulled on board that pirate ship. There it was all, sorry, brother, I'll get us out of this. Trust me. Not what you and I would call a plan, necessarily. Oh, I'm getting to that. He tells me we need to start pretending to fight each other. Trick the pirates into thinking they need to come in before one of us gets killed. I just remember him shouting, "This kid is a killer. How am I supposed to defend myself against these pearly whites? He's gonna bite my face off." I mean, I didn't think it would work, but they came in. All of a sudden, we were wrestling with two of them. Barrett reached for one of their guns. Bingo. Blasted the pilot right in the back. Through to the flight console. Dropped orbit like a rock off a high-rise. I blacked out. And when I came to, there he was, smiling like it was just another day on the job. You missed the fun part, Heller. I mean, I go through all the trouble of saving your butt, and you weren't even awake to notice. Then he did the little finger gun thing. Well, no, I don't think so. I caught him holding his ribs a few times. Favored his left leg a bit, Oh, yeah. Probably should have talked about that first. Did I mention I'm on a lot of painkillers? So, I was real excited when a ship showed up. Then, less excited when I realized it was a Crimson Fleet ship. And then, really less excited when Barrett said, "It's okay, I got this." He mumbled something to him, and then they were all gone. I was drifting in and out. But, I think I heard the word ransom. I was drifting in and out, but yeah, I think so. Got a signal from the ship before they grav jumped. Guessing it was Barrett. Haven't really been in a good space to have a listen. Here you go. Hey, I should come with you, right? I don't think anyone else is coming. I think Argos is probably gonna write this whole thing off. Plus, I'm 90% sure working for you would be safer. I hope. Yeah, just, don't ask me to operate any heavy machinery for a while. Give me a minute. I think the worst of it is... Yeah, I'll be alright. I'll be alright. Ready to wisecrack with the best of them. Let me know when you want to head out. Still think there might be a spot for me on your ship? I gotta get off this rock. Don't worry about me. I'm a tough cookie. The painkillers are starting to work. I'll be just fine after a good nap. You bet. I've worked on enough remote outposts that I know a thing or two about optimizing them for material production. And if you're in the market for a mining buddy, I'm your guy. Whew, oh, I'm glad to hear you say that. For a second there, I thought you were gonna leave me behind. What's on the agenda today?
You've given the fleet a lot of trouble, Barrett.
Hey, since when is surviving being attacked causing trouble? Isn't that just fighting back? Hey, pilot, could you move your arm a little bit to the left? I can't make out the console.
Don't move! He's trying to figure out our destination, probably transmitting this conversation right now while we're still in orbit.
Well, yeah, thought I was making that pretty obvious. Okay, put the gun down. I'm done. See? My retinas are pointing away from the console and towards this lovely view of space we have out the window.
Tie him up. Once we get back to the base, the fun starts.
Holy shit. You actually found me.
Now, why did I get a feeling this is what we'd find? It's good to see you, Barrett.
Well, this is turning into a regular Constellation party, isn't it? I should have brought drinks. Matsura the Grim here and I actually have a lot in common.
Both escape artists. Being captured by SysDef myself plenty of times.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Relativity. We're all just creatures of the universe trying to get away from what's after us. You know, it's actually been kind of nice. Matsura the Grim here is a great host.
No sense letting people's last moments be unpleasant.
See, that's what I like about you, Matsura. A real Renaissance man.
I have enjoyed our time together, Barrett. But I can't just let you go with nothing to show for it. Is Constellation willing to pay ransom in exchange for this man's freedom? You want me to end all this with nothing to show for it? He has been more entertaining than most hostages. He does seem to be unusually skilled in that area. Barrett has some good friends, it seems. Very well. You're all free to go.
It's been a real pleasure, Matsura. Really. And good luck out there with all the, you know, hurting people and taking their money. So, back to the lodge. Matsura the Grim? Honestly, a pretty nice guy as far as pirates go. Think I butted heads with his mentor once years back. Had the same kind of surprisingly hospitable vibe. Hey, you're underselling my harrowing escape from certain doom here. A little charm goes a long way when the knives are out. Honestly, I was kind of rolling the dice with you. But hey, sometimes a bet pays off. Go ahead and ask. I'll do my best to answer you. I think about it a lot. There's so many possibilities. Some wonderful, some terrifying. I'm not a fearful man, but I am just a man. And I'm keenly aware that this artifact could change my life. Or end it. On Bendy? No, wait. It was Kazal. I can feel Lynn's admonishing stare boring a hole in my back. She's not actually standing behind me, is she? Well, point is, my story's probably a lot like yours. We dug a pit, found some really wonky readings, and followed them to the artifact. Well, they certainly mean something, because not everyone who touches the artifacts sees them. My first instinct was it was a message of some kind, like the Voyager records. Communication from a higher life form reaching out blindly into space. But now I'm wondering if the vision wasn't just sensory. My new theory is something's changed in us physiologically. As in not just a message from beyond, but a delivery. Well, when I picked it up, I had no idea what it was. I knew it was something spectacular, though. I saw a vision. Flashing lights, the whole shebang. Sure, like what? Let's see. I've been in Constellation for a long time, as you know. I enjoy cheese, my work, and long walks on unexplored planets. What else did you want to know about?
We were worried sick.
Well, some of us were.
I see what you did there, Walter. And I know you've been secretly crying into your piles of money just waiting for my return.
Actually, Walter has been complaining about you more than usual, which is always a sign when he's worried.
Don't start, Country.
Wait, is that? And to think the first artifact was taking up dust on the library shelf. Now look at them all. You feel it a bit, can't you? Ever since I found the second one, had the visions. Being around them is just comforting. So hey, I'm still not 100%, plus I feel guilty dragging you into all of this. Why don't I stick around? Help you get adjusted to the weird corners of the universe. It doesn't really matter to me. Never get too attached to ships. After the 5th or 6th time one blows up and you get marooned. The romance fades. Plus the Frontier's a Constellation ship. And you're one of us now. So it's just as much yours as mine at this point. Marvelous.
Hey, good to see you. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I can deal with that. I couldn't stand what Neon was turning me into. The city has a way of sucking the life out of you and making you mean. I've seen it happen to lots of people. When I was forced to join the Disciples, I felt the meanness starting to get to me too. And that's what convinced me it was time to go. Not by a long shot. They strong-armed me into it. The gangs in Neon are just as good at taking advantage of people as the megacorps are. Unless you're born into money, your best hope at making a living in Neon is slinging chasm bass or getting into some kind of crime. And if you do manage to wrestle your way up the ladder, there's always someone above you trying to kick you back down. When you live that way long enough, you start losing hope. Some turn to Aurora for a substitute. Those who don't end up just drifting. It's horrible. You're right. right. I'm sure the Xenofresh execs aren't complaining. Ebside. The rough part of town. My family shared a sleep crate with a few other people. It was cramped, but at least we had a roof over our heads. Not everybody in Neon can say the same. There's a lot of homelessness in Ebside. That's the kind of stuff I was happy to leave behind. I didn't have much of a choice. My family owes them a lot of money, and they agreed to let us off the hook for some of it if I'd join the gang and work for them. I couldn't pass that offer up. My parents don't have a lot of income. They opened a shop in Ebside with the money the Disciples loaned them, but the strikers burned it down. I guess they thought the Disciples were using it for some kind of money laundering. Of course the strikers had it wrong. My parents weren't doing anything like that. They opened the shop so people in Ebside would have an affordable place to buy food. They only took a loan from the Disciples. They never did any business with them. The Ebside Strikers. They're a rival gang of the Disciples. I'm really glad they weren't the ones who asked me to join them. Those guys scare me. I know I don't look like it, but I'm one of the best brawlers in Neon. The Disciples were looking for a new heavy, and I fit the bill. They'd actually been trying to recruit me for a while before I agreed to join up. I've been on their radar since I knocked out one of their members on the street. Guy should have tried to mug me. Might still have his front teeth, and I might not be in this situation. It's not how I saw my life going. I'll just put it that way. But not having a way to pay would be worse for my family. My parents barely make a living at Xenofresh. They'd never get out of debt without my help. But I made it clear to the Disciples that I wanted out as soon as the debt was paid. Honestly, I don't want to be anywhere near Neon when the last payment goes through. I'm sure the Disciples would just find another way to get me to stay. My family's still there. The Disciples aren't above using people as tools to get what they want. Thanks so much for understanding. Things won't be like this forever, only until I've made enough to pay them off. I'm really sorry you have to get wrapped up in this at all. I know it's a messy situation. Almost makes me sorry I ever learned to fight at all. The Disciples might have agreed to let us pay off the debt in some other way if I didn't have something to offer them. Sorry, that's really heavy. Did you have any other questions? So many! I think I've read every tourist guide at the Neon Spaceport. Traveling's always been a dream of mine. Earth's moon is right at the top of my list. I've always been curious about it, but New Atlantis is a really close second. The travel guides make it seem incredible. It sounds like the exact opposite of Neon. They say it's the cleanest city in the settled systems, with trees and fresh water everywhere. And they talk about mass too, of course. I've heard that the most brilliant thinkers in the galaxy work there. I bet it's true. It must take a lot to keep a city like New Atlantis running smoothly. The last guide I read also had some pictures of the Nat. It seems amazing. If we ever end up in New Atlantis, the first thing I want to do is write it. I had a storybook that took place there. My mom read it to me before bed every night when I was a kid. I used to fall asleep, dreaming of walking on the moon like some old-timey astronaut from Earth. I've always wondered what it would feel like to be there. I've read a lot about Aquila City. Solomon Coe's always been a hero of mine. I'm fascinated with his legacy. And I found a whole pamphlet about the Sol system recently. Most of it was about Sidonia, but I read a little bit about New Homestead too. I also picked up a brochure on Paradiso right before we met. Talk about luxury. I can't believe a place like that even exists. You must get to go there all the time, huh? That's almost enough to convince me to become a UC citizen. I learned from a Freestar Navy vet named Talon. He lived on the streets near my parents' place in Ebside. My mom gave him food when we had it to spare. We sort of became friends since he lived in our area. He started teaching me to fight, so I'd be able to defend myself if anyone gave me trouble in Ebside. I couldn't have picked a better teacher. Thugs in Neon talk a big game, but I don't know many with the combat skills to stand up to a Navy vet. He got hooked on Aurora during the Colony War, so the Navy discharged him. It happens more than you'd think. He tried to get sober while he was teaching me, but I don't think he ever fully kicked the habit. Aurora's no joke. Personally, I'll never touch it. He was happy for me. He knows I've always wanted to leave Neon. It was tough to say goodbye. I made him promise he'd be there when I came back to visit. I told him I'd keep a journal while I travel. So the next time we saw each other, I could show him all the amazing things I've seen. He was pretty pissed. Talon hates gangs. He didn't speak to me for weeks after he saw me patrolling the streets with other disciples. That's one more reason to get out as soon as I can. It was. There's lots of crime in Ebside. I've been in more than one situation where knowing how to throw a good punch probably saved my life. Fighting really isn't my go-to solution, though. Defending yourself is one thing, but I'm not okay with unprovoked violence. Yeah, I did. He always says that combat skills are a tool, not a weapon, and that I should never use them unless I have to. I don't know what Talon saw on the battlefield, but it must have been really bad. He's even more opposed to violence than I am. You have no idea what a relief that is. I was hoping for a captain who's interested in exploring the galaxy rather than picking fights.